We're all human. We're all going to have things that impact us emotionally. The whole mindset is the most important lever to pull for your business, because if you're concentrating on your mindset, everything else will flow.
It's time to down tools for a bit. Welcome to the ToolShed, the influential podcast for anyone and everyone involved in the building industry. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hey there, before we kick off, I want to share a really important thought. 71% of you who watch this channel frequently don't subscribe. So if you've enjoyed any video you've ever watched, can you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button? It helps the channel more than you think, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests get. So let's go. So welcome to part 2 of my conversation with Anthony Tarquinio from Evve Group. The purpose of the conversation is to give you the reality, warts and all experience of being in a coaching group. And there are so many coaching groups around now, specifically for tradies, specifically for builders, specifically for this, for that. And the key is to find a group, a community that really is a great fit for you, is philosophically the right fit, has a community that you vibe with. And it's really important to be able to find that out. So that's one of the reasons why I'm having these conversations with our black belt members, so you can get the reality of what it's like, because there is a huge chance that black belt isn't the right fit for most people, but it might be the right fit for you. So listen to part 2 of my conversation with Anthony, where we get into the depth and into the weeds about how important it is to be able to have a dummy spit, have a vent, and have people to lean on, and how you can get into a community that really does give a stuff about you, but the real key is for you to be a contributor as well. If your focus is on contribution, you will find you'll get so much more out of that group. So please enjoy part 2 of my conversation with Anthony. Tell me about what's something that you thought that you should do, or was the right way of going about something in relation to your business. Because what I'm trying to get out of you here is somebody listening to this, I want them to be able to relate to the thing that you thought was the right way of doing something, but now your mind has been changed in relation to business. So what are some of the things, or even just one thing that you've gone, this is how you do it in business. Everyone knows that. And then you've found out that that's not the case. Have you got an example of that comes to mind?
Do I have to pick one?
You can say as many as you like. We'll start with one.
What flicks into my head is, you got to spend money to make money. So the answer then is, let's take on the next job. Let's scale. Let's do it. And I've still done it. Last night I was, frustrated with projects that I've taken on, and I'm like, this just wasn't. Right now, I know that it wasn't right, but that's because I've grown further and I've focused on the direction of my business by doing some more thinking and planning around that. But to look at the project you take on, because you just go, well, everybody just, and I've given this advice recently to somebody as well. You just bite off more than you can chew, and you chew, right? And you keep going. I believe in it to a certain extent, but I suppose I can believe in it now because of what I've done over the past few years and what I've learned. And for somebody that's just getting into business, you think that is the right way, where it's like, I'm just going to go full noise on, let me just get a whole bunch of work. And then once I've got work, then I can put people on and they'll do the work for me. That's probably been the biggest one. And then hiring the right people and hiring the right, or having the right systems and processes. And it's sort of almost like a chicken and the egg. Once I get enough jobs, then I'll have enough people. Then once I've got enough people, then I can build the system. If I rewound back 5 or 6 years ago now, admittedly, but knowing what I know now, how I would have done that differently, where it would have been, let's just slow down, focus on what we're actually taking on. Let's do one at a time. And even though it would have felt like a longer build up for myself at that time, we probably would have been in a different position that we are now, depending on how we measure success, I suppose. But just that let's go full noise attitude has been the biggest thing and the most uncomfortable for me to slow down and back out of, which has only really been the past 12 months.
I was just making notes while you were talking for my next question. And to me, it's a really important question because the reason that I'm doing this conversation and I've decided to do a couple of more podcast episodes with other black belt members is one of the things that I really believe, and it's super important to me as far as black belt is concerned, is having the right people in the community, having the right fit. And as we have experienced over the past number of years, there are certain people that aren't the right fit for this group. They wanted to go in a different direction, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no right and wrong about this. It's being able to find the type of environment, the type of coaching, the type of education, the type of community that works for you. And you know, I'm very, very mindset biased. I just think everything begins and ends with mindset. And the more you understand about yourself and how to manage yourself and how to make better decisions without being pushed around by emotion and urgent and all that sort of stuff, will cause you to have a more successful life, whatever that may be, you know, and that's up to you, because if your family's more important, you've got to make sure that the business is supporting your family decisions. If you don't give a shit about family, and I've spoken to people that, you know, we've decided not to have kids because we want to focus on our careers. Okay, that's the way you want to go. We're probably not the right fit. So the question is to be able to help somebody listening to this to perhaps have some idea of whether this group would be the right group for them to be part of. What do you see with your experience of being in this group for a number of years now? What's the common thing, do you think, with the people that are in this group? And I say this from the perspective that we've got people that are in the group now that have been in it for twice as long as Black Belt existed. So Black Belt's been around for nearly 12 years. And there's people in the group that have been in the group before that existed. So they're sort of in their 23rd, 22nd year of this coaching stuff. And you might think, well, geez, they must be slow learners. There's a reason for that. What do you think is the type of person that kind of thrives in this community, in this environment?
Yeah, the word that throws or comes out to the front of my head straight away is being very open. And when I say being very open, it's you've got to be open to not only to contribute and collaborate, but also to be able to take it on board. There's this, I think it's funny, as you're saying that, you think about people that have been around for a long time, and yeah, people may sit there and think, well, if people have been around that long, what haven't they learned? But that's not the reality. The reality is, how have they grown and changed? So as anybody progresses through life, your wants, your goals, and things are going to change. When I was 20, I could party hard and go out every weekend, and it didn't bother me. Now that I'm, last year in my 30s, I'm trying to look after my body a whole lot more, and I want to be fit for my kids. Well, I didn't have kids when I was 20. So what I wanted to do at that point in time was completely different. And then you said some people don't have kids, and that's great. Their journey and trajectory will be different. Doesn't mean that they can't be part of the group, right? It's being able and being really open to take feedback. I'm not going to say criticism, but I remember, talking to you, Mick, where I said, I want to get to $100 million business. And you told me, no, you don't. And I'm like, yes, I do. Yeah. How do you know what I want? You don't know what I want. 2 years later, that resonates a whole lot more now. We're going, yeah, well, no, that's not what I wanted, because I now know what that would cost, and I'm not willing to make that sacrifice. However, if something came about and the business grew in that direction, it might be okay if I could do it within the parameters of the cost. And the only way that you can get through that mindset is being open to contribute and being open to receive feedback back. I'll at the very start, even with a previous business partner of ours, the different mindset. There's a reason why we went on our own trajectories, and it's obviously a lot better for myself. However, it's been the biggest year of learning 2025 was for myself, particularly as a business owner, and how that impacted me. But there was this general yeah, but we're bigger than these other businesses. Like we've got, at the time, you're turning over 8 figures and you've got 15 staff, and you're like, yeah, but we're bigger than that. So yeah, but why would we compare ourselves to, a small business doing renovations? It doesn't make sense. But over the years, if you kept that mentality, then yeah, sure, we wouldn't be here. Yeah, it wouldn't be like, well, how do I get to point B the fast? How do I get there at rocket speed? The biggest thing for me over the past couple of years is slowing down and turning the rockets off, because they were doing nothing but working against my detriment. And the only way that I could do that was being very open with people, and also being very aware of their situations and how their business operates. And then you start to realize that we're all the same. We're all human. We're all going to have things that impact us emotionally. And like you said, the whole mindset is the most important lever to pull for your business, because if you're concentrating your mindset, everything else will flow. And it's a challenge for me. I have deep-rooted things that we talk about working through from, growing up in childhood, and things that influence my decisions, particularly around my association with money. But if I just didn't come and bring that up or bring it to the group, but not all the time and consistently, but when situations approach and people give me feedback about how, or maybe what I should look at, maybe it's a book to read or we talk about, and if I didn't take that on board, then I'd never grow. And I think that's the most important thing for anybody coming into the group. Take your business, yeah, you're a builder and you're in the group, that's great. But take that away and just look at everybody else that we're contributing to as a business owner, as an individual, and work with them on that level of openness. And if you can accept and understand that, then you'll go further and a lot longer. And then you end up with people that have been around for 22 years, because they're constantly growing and changing based on their point of where they've reached in their life. Like I look to the members that have been around for a lot longer, and they'll come to a call sometimes and they don't know what to do with themselves on a day. And you're like, wow, I wish I had that problem where today I didn't know what to do. However, that's actually an issue for them because they don't know what to do. And they've spent so many years at a speed or building something, and now they're looking for a different level of purpose in their life. So being able to be open and contribute back and forward and not judge, like there's no judgment. And I think that's the biggest thing in black belt is people aren't judging each other. And again, it goes down to what business you operate. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And we have had people in the past that are no longer there. Some people didn't embrace that as well. And maybe they don't take the feedback on board. It just didn't resonate with certain people and they're doing other things, and that's great. But for the people in our group, we're really open with each other. We take things on board, and you have to be vulnerable and open to that. Because if you are open to that, then you'll jump on the mindset wagon of, I'm going to journal every day. There's so many people. How many people in the group? How many people do you talk to? You hear people say it. Oh, why do you journal every day? It's ridiculous. Then you see a lot of other world leaders and stuff and say how much they journal. So it's like, well, what works for you? You don't have to journal, but for me it works. And that's something that we promote with the people in our group, because we have, I wouldn't necessarily say a similar mindset, but we have an approach and an understanding to each other that enables the communication on a couple of days a week that we catch up to be valuable. Even on days like, my thought today was, I don't really have a contribution, or I don't have a question for today. I've had a lot going on and I haven't thought about it. I know that when I jump on that call, it might just be some feedback to somebody that will get my juices flowing, and I have that moment and we're in that open mic conversation. We're contributing. Nobody's judging. We're trying to help each other because you're just trying to prop each other up and get ourselves through whatever challenges or steps that we're all trying to work through. And some days, some people are more positive than others. And that herd mentality is to keep everybody together and move forward in our mindset by being open.
So talking about that, so, after we finish this recording, it's our Tuesday session, which is questions and contributions. We have a Friday session, which is about gains and learnings, and there's some very specific language around that and a focus and a purpose. A couple of times a year we have training day, so 2-day live events where there's training on specific things, and then once a year we have a 3-day event called Intensive, which is normally somewhere in the country where we all get together. What are your thoughts on the regular group conversations versus just one-on-one coaching? Because there are some coaching groups, I guess, that have just group, and then there are other coaches that just do one-on-one. What are your thoughts about having the access to one-on-one, as well as what are your thoughts on and the value that you get from the regular Zoom conversations that we have weekly, but also your thoughts on the in-person get together, have dinner, do learnings, 2-3 days face-to-face somewhere in the country? What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, well, the thoughts around that is that frequency of repetition, number one, keeps it forefront of your mind. So by doing it weekly, if it was just a once a month catch up, you lose momentum. We've talked about this, whether it be team meetings and not doing them frequently enough, and you end up with people forget what they're talking about. So if it was just this once a month sort of catch up, you lose that frequency of repetition, and you don't have that muscle building towards it. And by having the different catch ups for different things makes it more valuable. So whether it be, Tuesday question and contribution is important to come prepared. And this week I'm not prepared. I'm being honest. It's like I'm not sitting there saying I'm perfect. I haven't been, because I've worked too much recently, because I've chosen to work too much, right? Because I'm not perfect, and it's about learning that. So the question, I will still present, and there's probably something that may present through that conversation, or I can help somebody out. I walk away from that saying, I've done something today and I've contributed and I've ticked a goal that I've committed to. The Friday, which is a feedback from the week, is a great way to reflect, particularly when you're having a super challenging period of whether business or life or whatever it may be. I was in that boat last week, and I got to Friday and I thought, no, you know what? We talked about spidey senses, and saying that I know my spidey senses were tingling, and my business partner, Frank, goes, mate, you've been dead on with that this year. But they, realized that they weren't spidey senses. It was how I've grown, and the person that I've become over the past few years makes me have, I wouldn't say intuition, but I know the better decisions. I know when things are coming at me, I can see from a business perspective. And I was like, oh, wow, you know what? This week has been really bloody hard, but be aware of that. And then by doing that, and doing that daily in the journals, helps me be aware of it, because I can focus on the negativity. And I think with the in-person events, yeah, you get the doubts, right? Like, let's be honest. There's times where, we fly down to Hobart, Mick, about every quarter to see you. And then you're like, oh, I jump on a plane. It's a busy week. There's cost associated to that. We do the profit first principles and everything, but let's be honest. Business isn't great. I'm in a very challenging position. Like, our business, we haven't got it all worked out, and we're sitting there, living like the Instagram lifestyle with big addies and stuff. So you sit there and you go, well, oh yeah, geez. And then you go and you're like, bloody hell, I knew it was the right decision to do. I knew coming here, but also because you build up that momentum. And I think the first intensive we ever did was a party and a information overload, and an amazing time, because it was like, wow, look at all these cool people. Look how powerful, look what we're learning. This is so powerful. And we learned a couple of years later on that a lot of people in the group that had been around for a while didn't actually enjoy that environment. And now when I come to an intensive, particularly last year's one, my mindset of how I approach that and knowing that I'm not going to come into those 3 days to go, oh, geez, I'm going to learn a lot of stuff this time, but rather to almost do it's like, if you put it into a fitness terms, like going to a Spartan challenge or something, you've trained all the year to get to this challenge where you get to do this great marathon of a run and deal with the hurdles over a few days to really stretch your muscle out and put everything into practice that you've been working on daily, and then deliver it in these, few days, and you walk away from it, not necessarily like fireworks have gone off and you've become somebody different, but particularly to look back over then the past year and go, wow, look how far I've come from who I am in a gap in game mentality to say, look at where we are. Not, oh, geez, I didn't learn much this 3 days. It's not always about learning. It's just it's the habit and ritual for anything that you do. Like the only way of getting good at something is, we talk about mastery. It's like the only way you can get good at something is by repeating frequently and regularly. I think the talks about, the basketballs and how many 3 points they've shot and how many baskets they've actually hit, or, Federer saying that he's only hit 63% of his points in over time. It's those rhythms that we do daily that lead up to those big events. So it's different now. My mentality around it is so much different because I can see that now, but it took me years to get into this mindset and I didn't see it at the start. So what kept me there at the very start, and it goes back to what we're talking about at the very start of this podcast, I just knew that if I did the small levers daily and had repetition, that it would get me somewhere. And I think that's the same thing with business. Nobody wants business to fail. We all want to be in business to success, and whatever that looks like and however that changes over time. But to do it is a daily repetition of the small things, just small things that will build that muscle over time for us.
One of the things that we do have done in Black Belt is try to create new opportunities or new processes, resources for the members. And one of the things we introduced a year or two ago was a thing called the vent room, where you can there's a couple of phone numbers that you can go and call. If someone doesn't answer the first one, you can call the second one. And those people are just part of the group. I'm one of them, but there are members of the group that when they receive a call from a member and it's a vent room call, the person receiving the call knows that that's the purpose of the conversation, is just to allow that person to get the shit off their liver and have an absolute whinge fest or whatever it is, so they can exhale at the end of it. What is your experience with that? Is it an important thing? Because I just feel that probably doesn't happen in many, if any, other coaching groups, because if someone, makes the call or comes to a call and is having an absolute dummy spit about something, there is somebody there that is giving them advice and telling them to change their mindset or their approach or what have you. And the vent room's not that at all. It's like anything else. Anything else. What's your thoughts on the value of having something like that?
For somebody like myself who loves to talk and loves to have a chat, I dare say I've got the golden ticket in the vent room, because I've called everybody who's listed in the vent room more than once.
Yeah, I don't think you're up the top, but you're probably on the podium somewhere, but not number one.
Oh, geez, right. So the vent room, amazing, because it's actually quite funny when you do use it, because the first thing is, hey, I'm here to have a vent. If you like somebody who's very passionate, got a lot of energy, and you say that to somebody, they go, yeah, okay, go on. And they just pause and you get to just offload that floodgate of thumping out that emotion. And then they're just silence. There's no feet. There's no, yeah, but what if, it's just, okay, is there anything else? And yeah, there's more. And and you're just rattling it out and you're throwing this down. And then after, for me particularly, it could take 5 minutes. It could take 10, 15, sometimes 20.
Or 50.
or 50, it depends, whatever it is. So get it right out because I'm riled up, and then have a bit of a conversation at the back end of it. And sometimes there's some advice at the very end if we get to that point. Otherwise, it can just be, no, I've had enough, I'm on my way, and that's fine. That's okay as well. But I think it's super important because, again, it's taken away the shiny. I have mates that aren't involved in our group, business owners and other builders, particularly builders, that call me and then they vent. And I find myself just going, oh yeah, listening to it. And I try not to give the advice. It's bloody hard for me. Try not to give something feedback, but people are looking for an outlet, and the vent room, because we understand what it is amazing, right? To just let it all off the body, get it all out. And sometimes it helps, or most of the time it helps for clarity, because you get to a calming point. You're not dumping it on a coworker, definitely not a staff member. I've done that before. I've made that mistake. My wife, and it still happens. And every time it happens, it's a bloody mistake, right? But we're not perfect. So you try to stop. And I've caught myself. And one of my gains recently was not doing it to my wife and being able to call somebody after it and go, hey, I've had a big gain here, but hear me out because I just need to get it all out. So it's a massive part to be able to understand that, there's no clear rule book to how all this works, and that we have to be perfect and you have to follow these 8 steps and you'll be a billionaire. It's not about that. You can't manage those emotions. So the vent room for me is a great way to just exhaust it all out and then have a chat that I can't have when I'm in an elevated state of frustration.
So final question before we bail, because we do have to get ready for our weekly call. Just your overall big picture thought about your journey with your business in a coaching environment. What's your overall impression of it? What do you see for the future in relation to that? What's your feeling about it?
My feeling is it's the right thing. There's been times where I've doubted it. Again, we talk raw and honest. You sit there and you go, well, I'm not feeling this right now. Why? But it's part of the wave to push through. My business is definitely nowhere near where I thought it would be, where I expected it to be, where I want it to be. I haven't hit goals that I aimed for 6 years ago. There's oftentimes we sit and capture, particularly when I say we, I talk a lot about my business partner, where you just go, far out, man, we're just not where we thought we would be. And our wives can say it to us and go, well, we thought that after this many years you'd be here, and you're not. And that's the reality of it, right? So with the coaching, if I didn't have the coaching and I didn't have that to fall back on, I would have made much worse decisions. I would have maybe chased, probably because I originally reached out, say to yourself, I probably would have continued to chase that bright, shiny object. And I'm not against reaching out and trying different things, definitely not. But there's got to be, and what's right for you, there's got to be some sort of source of truth. Maybe you have a great network around you of people that help with that, and coaching doesn't suit you and they wouldn't make it into the group. For us, the community and the having an anchoring point is what will help the business move forward. And I know, and you said this before, I know, and I don't understand it, but I know that I nearly said it, language.
You've just got faith.
I've got faith, because it's very challenging to change your mindset, to adjust and to make steps towards it. And I know that the mindset part and the path of the coaching is what will result. Because again, like we said, there's people in our group that have been around for a long time, they're at a different point, and then they struggle with what's next when you've already done everything. And that's the important part about mindset and the important part of coaching. So for me, if you asked me at the start of last year, and again, we're being raw and honest here, I probably would have sat there and said, am I getting the value that maybe I once saw, even out of black belt? Is it here anymore? And then I had a year of absolute, I felt like Rocky just copping the punches, yeah? So like a movie scene, the rocky punch after rocky punch all through the year. And what you fall back on is there's this source of truth, and having that faith that I've always had in doing the simple things daily. I know now that that's right. I didn't see that at the start of 2025. It took the wave of challenges to come at me to be able to go, no, you have to have an anchoring and source of truth that people and yourself and a community to work with that will help you through it, because that's what they're there for. And we've had guys on calls, myself included, that have broken down into tears with the situations that they're going through. Nobody's there to judge. It's because everybody has their peaks and troughs. And when you're going through the shit or you're going through the highs, like some people are absolutely going through brilliant parts, and I've been there when it's super positive and people are cheering you on, and it helps. But it also helps when you're at rock bottom and people cheer you on. So for me, coaching will continue. We'll keep doing what we're doing. My goal is to grow my mindset and develop that, because part of my purpose in life is to pass it on to my children. So I want to be able to get my mental muscle, not to a point, I was going to say it's language, it's just to continually grow. If I continue growing, I can help them to continue to grow. And I'm not going to be able to do that on my own. You need that community and that anchoring and that sometimes boring system to keep you into it, that monotonous maybe, but there's times where that monotonous, boring routine will give you so much energy that you feel like you could work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, but you won't, because you know that there's more purpose and decision with everything else around you. So I'll continue. We'll still be doing this.
Excellent stuff. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And I'll see you in the call in 15 minutes.
That's it. We'll go again. We'll do it all again.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks, Mick.
I hope you enjoyed part 2 of my conversation with Anthony. One of the things that we have created is a thing called the Builder's Freedom Readiness Scorecard. So after listening to part 1 and hopefully part 2 of my conversation with Anthony, and you might be thinking, well, this could be for me, maybe not. The very first step that you can take is taking the Builder's Freedom Readiness Scorecard. And it's just 90 seconds where you answer a bunch of questions to find out where you are. And then from that, we will send you out a report that will give you a score in the important areas of a successful business. But in that report, you'll also get some very specific actions that are appropriate to implement because of where you are. We don't necessarily, or we shouldn't necessarily look at a really successful company and go, I should do what they do, because you're not at that level of maturity, or maybe you don't have the amount of resources that they have to do what they do. But what you need to do is do what they did when they were in your situation. So the PDF report that you will get is appropriate to where you are. So you'll get some really cool information about what you can implement based on where you want to go and where you currently are. And of course, we're around to help you implement that if you want to have that conversation about what we can offer, how we can help. More than happy to have that conversation. And that was the reason that we spoke to Anthony, and we're speaking to some other black belt members in the future. So you can get a real understanding of the value, the experience, what it's like to be in black belt, because it may well not be the place for you. It may well be, but it may well not be. So trying to give you some really open and honest stuff instead of the Instagram version of how wonderful stuff is when you get coaching, because that's not the truth. We're trying to deliver you the truth of how challenging it can be, but also how rewarding it can be for different reasons. So look forward to our next episode of the ToolShed. It'll be with you before you know it. Make sure you go and do the Builders Freedom Readiness Scorecard. The link's in the description. I'm Mick Horse from Builders Business Black Belt. That is all. I'm out. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the ToolShed. If this podcast struck a chord with you, make sure you spread the word by sharing it with your mates in the building industry. We love your help to make the building industry better for everyone involved.